friends, and welcome to the Dixon Gallery and Gardens. My name is Laura Gray-Tickle, and I'm the research assistant here at the Dixon. And I want to talk a little bit about our French paintings collection that Hugo and Margaret Dixon started collecting around the 1950s that has now become the basis of our permanent collection. You may have heard of some of the painters that are featured in our permanent collection, maybe someone named Monet or Degas, Renoir. I want to talk about the forerunners to those people that became known as the Impressionists, and I'm going to do that by starting with a first painting, which is behind me, by Camille Corot. This painting by Camille Corot is noted for its a bit of a sketch-like quality, but it's just a picture of the outdoors at its very bones, and it's really a picture of a place in Fontainebleau, which is outside of Paris. And in the 1830s, when this picture was painted, the railways were increasing in size, and the rail was growing out of Paris, and it allowed people to travel outside of Paris, which is one of the main components that led to painters being able to access the outdoors, which is something that Impressionism relied heavily upon, was painting en plein air or painting outside. And Corot was really one of the first and most important painters to do that. Corot always went back to his studio to finish his paintings, but his practice of painting outdoors really did influence the Impressionists, and he became known, Corot did, as a part of a group called the Barbizon School of Painters. And the Barbizon was just a small village in the forest of Fontainebleau, which became very beloved to this group of painters, the Barbizon School of Painters, and they were very influential upon the Impressionists. Like Corot, Charles-François Daubigny also painted outdoors. In fact, after he had been exhibiting with the Paris Salon, which was the premier place for artists to exhibit their work and the most accepted, he moved on to actually exhibiting paintings that were painted on this scale and painted entirely out of doors, which was rather unheard of for salon exhibitions. Later on in his career, when this painting behind me was painted, Daubigny became more interested in the effects of light on water, especially around the river that surrounded his home in the south of France near Aveyron. Now, Daubigny then did something that became remarkable to the Impressionists. He created a studio boat, which he called La Botte, which is just little box, from which he painted all the effects of light on the water. This was something that would go on to influence Impressionists such as Monet, and an artist named Boudin, who was a precursor and often a teacher to Monet in their early years, as they were both from Normandy in northwestern France. Now, Boudin never moved to Paris, and most of his paintings did surround seascapes, like this one that you see here. And he was also interested, just like the other two artists, Monet and Daubigny, in the effects of light on water at different times of day and in different types of weather. In this next painting, we'll see yet another scene of the Normandy coast, and this one is a bit choppier. You can tell that it's maybe a storm perhaps blowing in, and this is something that most of the Impressionists would dabble in, especially using their brush to create some impasto on the water, which is just a little bit thickness that mimics the foam of the waves, and also different colors and swirls of paint to mimic the clouds rolling in, like Boudin does so well here. And finally, the man I've been talking about, Monet. Monet was one of the core Impressionists, and while I will not go into major detail about the Impressionist group, I'll save that for some other time, I'm going to talk about the progression that we've gone through from Corot to Daubigny, and I spoke a little bit about Boudin, who grew up in the same place that Monet did, in Normandy in northwestern France. This picture by Monet is not a seascape, but a village street scene. But if you can see with the shadows here, from the trees on the left-hand side of the street, Monet is definitely interested in shadows and the play of light upon the street, and he was also, as I mentioned, interested in the play of light upon water. We've looked at Barbizon School landscapes by Daubigny, and talked about the influence artists like Boudin and Boudin's seascapes had on later paintings by the Impressionists, such as this one by Renoir. While Renoir was really known for his portraits, he, like Monet and Boudin, went outside to record the effects of, yes, light on water in this sort of explosive seascape scene, which is called The Wave, where he used all the techniques of painting on plein air and the use of brushwork and the famous use of color that Impressionists employed so well to create this very dynamic wave scene filled with movement and color and virtuosity.